Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another college basketball March Madness bubble update where I look over the bubble, look at teams' chances based on odds and analytics. Beginning with the current state of the bubble, you can see, I guess in this update, there's only 90 brackets they're comparing in the bracket matrix, but basically all of those 9 and 10 seeds outside of Villanova are in the tournament. Villanova appearing on 79 out of the 90 brackets. Mississippi State 89 out of the 90 brackets, so someone left Mississippi State off, but it does seem like at this point Villanova would be on the right side of the bubble, possibly looking at maybe even a 10 seed or an 11 seed, but not having to play in that first four game. You can take a look at the 11 seed, Virginia 81 overall brackets, so even better. Same thing with Seton Hall, 87 brackets out of the 90 they are in. St. John's, 74 brackets. They've got a final game against Georgetown, should be a very easy win. And then the question is, how many games do they need to win in the Big East tournament? There's a weird thing where apparently they're not going to value St. John's wins as neutral site wins because it's technically at Madison Square Garden. The Big East tournament is kind of weird there, but I would say St. John's gets a win in the Big East tournament. They should be fine unless something crazy happens with these other teams. New Mexico, 71 out of the 90 brackets, so they would be on the, I guess, right side of that situation. Indiana State possibly getting in as an 11 seed, and then Richmond clearly on the bubble, 59 out of the 90 total brackets, a little bit more than 50%. The other teams right now also squarely on the bubble, mainly Pac-12 teams, Utah and Colorado. You do also have Providence, Iowa, Drake. The Missouri Valley is very strange. So I'm just wondering, so let's say Drake beats Indiana State by 2 points in the championship. Obviously, Drake has to get in, but then I would assume they would probably let Indiana State in, both as 11 seeds. Indiana State gets an at-large. It's kind of a weird situation with the Missouri Valley. You do have Wake Forest really struggling recently. They've taken on a ton of water. Texas A&M, they started the season preseason top 25, but they really fell off. They're trying to bring it back. They're an inconsistent team. And then Pittsburgh appearing on 2 brackets as well. Now, as you can see, I have filtered this to the at-large percent, so just teams potential at-large to make the tournament. And you can see all those top teams, Washington State 99.9%, even after their loss to Washington last night, which is a crippling loss, by the way. They could have been on the 6 line, maybe even the 5 line. I think that's going to bump them down. They could possibly be involved, in an 8v9 matchup, setting them up against a 1 seed in the second round or a 2 seed if they're a 7 seed. Not great for them. But Utah State, Michigan State, everyone is kind of saying, Michigan State, are they actually going to make the tournament? Of course they're going to make it. They got a 98% chance. The analytics love them. And then a few other teams in the mid-90s. How about St. John's? I don't think that St. John's number there is fully representative. The analytics love St. John's. They're filtering St. John's as a top 25 team, so they're going to have them at a 95% chance. But generally, I think the analytics on St. John's side with this game against Georgetown, they should be in. Some other teams there, TCU, Nebraska, both over 90, Seton Hall at 85, Mississippi State at 84, FAU at around 82 right now, Colorado at 80% chance. They could be a dangerous team in the tournament. You do have Northwestern. I'm surprised Northwestern is that low at a 76%. Yeah, well, that's just an analytical flaw because the analytics really don't like Northwestern, but Northwestern's going to make the tournament. Villanova, Colorado State at around a 65% chance, New Mexico, and then you can see Virginia. I do agree. I think Virginia, they can go be a 1 seed in the NIT at this point, Virginia, with the way things are going. They've struggled recently. They just got annihilated. I mean, they've been scoring sub 50 points. Iowa, I'm surprised well, I looked at Iowa's record, and I guess I'm not that too shocked. They're only 18-12. They have the same record as Ohio State, but they do have a little bit more impressive analytics. Pittsburgh at a 25% chance. Indiana State possibly getting an at-large. That's the scenario where, what if the problem for Indiana State is they lost 2 games late in the season. And of course they were bad losses because you're losing to Missouri Valley Conference teams. If you're talking about an at-large bid, if Indiana State only had 3 losses right now, they would be 1,000%, I think, even if they lost the first game of their conference tournament in the tournament. The problem is they lost 2 late games. Now it's kind of like, what if they face Drake in their conference championship, lose by 2 points? Do they still get in as an 11 seed? this model would suggest as an at-large chance, it's around a 1/4 probability they would get in. You do have Texas A&M, 19% chance. Wake Forest still at a 17% chance. That's because analytically Wake Forest is still liked. Providence with an at-large chance of around 17%. You do also have Utah. Ohio State kind of hanging on by a thread after firing Chris Holtmann. Cincinnati, so two Ohio schools there, kind of below 10%, but still, if they go on runs in their conference tournaments, maybe. Butler, Virginia Tech, Kansas State, Ole Miss, Syracuse, Drake with an at-large chance right there, and then randomly you can see they throw in Central Connecticut with a 0% chance of an at-large, and then UNLV with a 0.1% chance. So maybe UNLV could get in. I am just kidding, of course. And then apparently these are all of the teams considered to be on the bubble right now and where they rank in terms of net and in terms of overall resume. Michigan State, a clear number one in terms of teams you could consider being on the bubble, although I don't think Michigan State is on the bubble. Net, they are top 25. You do have New Mexico, who's really trending down still in terms of the net. The reason a lot of these Mountain West teams grade out so well in terms of the net is because they face each other. So the loser, if you lose to a really good team, you're not going to be penalized very much. Villanova, pretty good in terms of the net. Their resume is terrible, though. If you look at those other metrics, 62nd, 56th, 59th, just in terms of those other things that they analytically go by. You can also see BPI, Ken Palm as well taken into account. Villanova liked a little bit more in terms of those. But you also do have Florida Atlantic, Colorado State, there's St. John's. They're liked analytically, not so much in terms of their resume. That's because of the record that they have. You do also have Mississippi State, Wake Forest involved in the next four out, Nebraska, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Utah, Drake, A&M, Virginia, Northwestern's relatively low, but they are a 9 seed. So there is a ton of disagreement in terms of the analytics versus what Northwestern actually is. Like, you can see Utah, Cincinnati, who's not even listed as a team that's in the first four out, in terms of their net, is about 8 spots higher than Northwestern, who's a 9 seed. It's just interesting how that works out. I don't think it really means much because when you're talking about a 9 seed facing an 8 seed, we're splitting hairs with these teams. I mean, Cincinnati could face Northwestern 10 times and they'd probably go 5-5. It's just they're very close. And then you have Iowa. So with Iowa, here's the thing. They've got one game left at home against Illinois. That's a quad 1 win if they get it. You would think if they win that game, they go 19-12. They just need to win one game, maybe 2 games in the Big Ten Conference Tournament to be in. It just depends. Do they need to win one game or 2 if they do beat Illinois? I think they just need to win 1. But right now, they're on the first 4 out. Ohio State needs to beat Rutgers, and then they need to win a minimum of 2 games in the Big Ten Tournament to possibly get one of those first 4 spots. Providence within shouting distance. Seton Hall in the tournament right now is an 11 seed. Butler out. Richmond is in as an 11 seed. UNLV, and then Kansas State as well. And then this is an updated, right now, to the minute, look at how it could potentially play out. You can see St. John's in as an 11 seed. Not surprised there. You also have Virginia, Seton Hall, both as 10 seeds. MSU as a 10 seed. Colorado as a 10 seed. FAU in as an 11 seed. Indiana State in as well. And then the teams involved in the first 4, Villanova, Pittsburgh. You do also have Providence and New Mexico, teams that just missed Mississippi State, Butler, Iowa, Texas A&M, Utah, Wake Forest, Drake, and Syracuse. So what I'm seeing is Iowa's clearly out right now. Mississippi State, they're probably in, but it's negligible. Butler is out right now. A&M is out right now. Utah is out right now, according to everyone. Wake Forest is way out. They're going to need a big run in the ACC tournament. Drake needs to win the Missouri Valley Conference. Syracuse is pretty much done. And then teams that are probably trending in the right direction, probably going to be in right now. Villanova probably going to be involved in a first 4 game. Pittsburgh, I would say it's 50-50. New Mexico probably going to be involved in a first 4 game. Providence, it's 50-50 right now. St. John's trending in the right direction. And Virginia, I would say 50-50. Seton Hall trending in the right direction. Colorado is probably going to be in at this point. But that is just the update on that. And then when it comes to the Saturday games, because I never do this, I never preview the actual matchups. There's some great games happening on Saturday. How you take a look at the top left. This is based off of just their overall, where they are right now in terms of analytics. Houston, the number one overall team, on the road at Kansas. Good matchup there and a huge potential win for Kansas if they can get it at home. What a game. How about UConn at Providence? Providence on the bubble right now would be a huge upset victory for Providence. Playing on the road is not easy. Arizona at USC, we would expect Arizona to win that game as they try and climb back to being a 1 seed. A lot of people now have them as a 2 seed. They'll very likely beat USC. USC is not good. It just depends what happens with Tennessee. You do have Auburn at Georgia. Should be an easy win for Auburn. Tennessee, there they are traveling to Kentucky. Expect a higher scoring game. Kentucky, whenever they play at home, it's very high scoring. And that could be huge. If Arizona wins and Tennessee loses, Arizona's back to being a 1 seed. Duke and North Carolina, the rivalry, very interesting. Both of these teams similar in terms of seeds, similar in terms of analytics. Really good game there. You do have Creighton and Villanova. Huge game for Villanova at home. They can make the tournament very easily if they win that game. And it's going to be very close, I'm sure. Marquette and Xavier. Expect Marquette to win that game, although it is on the road. Xavier's not horrible. You do have Iowa State traveling to Kansas State. Iowa State looks like they're around 7-point favorites. Baylor taking on Texas Tech. Quality matchup there. BYU, Oklahoma State. You would expect BYU to win that game. Alabama traveling to Arkansas. Bama, a massive favorite. Colorado at Oregon State. Definitely Colorado should win that game. St. John's at Georgetown, so we would expect St. John's to win. You do have Wake Forest traveling to Clemson. Interestingly enough, Wake Forest possibly, I don't know how it has Wake Forest winning that game. That really doesn't make sense. How is Clemson better analytically, but the analytics, maybe that's a style matchup? I'm surprised they weight styles that much to where a team on the road could be lower ranked and be a 3-point favorite. I'm not sure if I'm reading that correctly. 76 to 73. How does that make sense, though, if you're an analytical model and a worse team on the road? So they're already going to be, underdogs as 3 points because it's just you're on the road. How are they favorites over a team that's ranked higher than them analytically? That doesn't make any sense to me. I understand you could say, well, they match up with them better in terms of style, but that much? That surprises me. TCU, UCF. I don't know, UCF, man, they hang in there when they're at home, but those are just some of the games that are happening. And then when it comes to the bubble, Cincinnati obviously has to beat West Virginia. That's a huge game for New Mexico. I think New Mexico is probably going to win that game just with the way the Mountain West has been working. Home teams win. Florida, Vanderbilt. Florida is really trending right now. They're like a 6 seed. Northwestern, Minnesota, certainly you'd like to see Northwestern win that game if you are them. UNLV maybe with a chance if they can beat Nevada. That would be a quality win at home. Certainly it's possible. Oregon, Utah, both of those teams were kind of on the bubble at one point. I guess Utah still is. Utah's good at home. I would expect them to win that game. FAU and Memphis. What happened to Memphis basketball, man? My goodness. Seton Hall and DePaul. DePaul, the worst Power 6 program in history. I mean, they're up there, man. They are terrible. Man, they've got Grand Canyon winning by 6. George Mason is good. Yeah, they've got George Mason. How in that? This just doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe the home team is on top. This is an issue. How is George Mason analytically a 1-point favorite when they're ranked 93rd and Richmond is 69th? I'm in the twilight zone with this stuff. I understand you could say it's a styles thing, but that just doesn't. I don't know about that. Very surprising. But either way, guys, those are just some fun matchups to look at that'll be happening on Saturday. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.